the quiet farming town of Cedar Ridge. Kansas wasn't the kind of place where people locked their doors. Neighbors borrowed sugar from each other. Kids rode bikes past sunset. And gossip was mostly about whose cattle got loose last weekend. That sense of safety shattered forever on the morning of July 14th, 2016. At 6:42 a.m., police received a frantic 911 call from Megan Walker, 17, barely able to speak through sobs. She had just come home from a sleepover to find her mother, Catherine, and younger brother, Ethan, both dead in the living room. Her father, Daniel Walker, was nowhere to be found. The crime scene was gruesome. Multiple gunshot wounds, a struggle in the living room, signs of forced entry at the back door. Catherine's phone was smashed. Ethan's body was partially covered with a blanket. Detectives noted something strange. A half-eaten dinner plate still on the coffee table, as if the attack had come without warning. At first glance, it looked like a random home invasion. Cedar Ridge had seen a few burglaries over the years, but nothing this violent. Neighbors recalled seeing a white pickup truck speeding away just after midnight. The police put out an alert for Daniel Walker, assuming he might also be a victim, kidnapped or killed somewhere else. But by that afternoon, the narrative began to shift. As officers interviewed relatives and friends, a different portrait of Daniel emerged. The 44-year-old grain supplier was known as a devoted family man in public. Church on Sundays, barbecues on the 4th of July. But in private, things were unraveling. Daniel had been under severe financial strain for months. Business was down. He had taken out multiple loans, some from questionable sources. Worse, investigators discovered a string of text messages between Daniel and a woman named Sierra Hale, a bartender from a neighboring county. They had been having an affair for nearly a year. In one message, sent just 3 days before the murders, Daniel had written, "I can't live like this anymore. It'll all be over soon." On July 15th, Daniel's abandoned truck was found 40 miles away in a rural area. In the glove compartment, police recovered his wallet and wedding ring. Nearby, in the brush, lay a hunting rifle registered in his name, recently fired, but there was no sign of Daniel. Some speculated he had killed his family and fled. Others believed he had been ambushed and taken. That's when forensic testing on the rifle revealed something unexpected. The fingerprints didn't match Daniel's. They belonged to Sierra Hale. Confronted by detectives, Sierra initially claimed she had nothing to do with the murders, but inconsistencies in her story quickly unraveled. Under pressure, she admitted that Daniel had confided in her about his debts, his failing marriage, and his fantasy of starting over with her. According to her, Daniel had asked her to help scare his wife into a divorce by staging a break-in, but things escalated. Sierra alleged that Daniel himself shot Catherine and Ethan in a moment of panic, and then turned the gun on her when she tried to stop him. She claimed she shot him in self-defense, dumped his body in a nearby creek, and fled. When police searched the creek, they found Daniel's body weighed down with cinder blocks. The trial that followed gripped Cedar Ridge. Sierra Hale was convicted of second-degree murder for Daniel's death and 2 counts of manslaughter for Catherine and Ethan. The court ruled that her claim of self-defense didn't explain her role in the planning. Megan Walker, the only surviving member of the family, moved away to live with relatives. She never returned to Cedar Ridge, saying in a rare interview, "That house isn't home anymore. It's just where my life ended, too." The case left the town with more questions and answers about love, betrayal, and just how far people will go when secrets and desperation collide. In Cedar Ridge, they still talk about the Walker family murders, not just because of brutality, but because no one could see the darkness hiding behind Daniel Walker's smile.